Welcome to a very special bonus episode of the IP2 podcast. Normally, our content is a little bit slow in coming, but because we just wrapped up recording with a couple special guests here, and a big batch of Dusk Till Dawn spoilers just dropped over the last few days, including today, we thought it would be a great opportunity to get some hot takes that we'll all be very embarrassed of in a little bit when the whole set is announced. And along for the ride are those two special guests, Adam and Andrew. So we're going to do a very quick introduction. You're going to learn all about them in the episode coming up later this week. So I'm just going to ask for names, favorite heroes, and result that they're most proud of. And just because we keep it equitable and fair here, Shea, you're going to go first. Your name, your favorite hero, and the result that you're the most proud of in Fab.
That caught me off guard. I didn't think I was going to be asked this question. Well, my name's Shea Ashby, obviously. I'm one of the hosts of the IP2 podcast. My favorite hero is a tie between Prism and Icelander. They are both special to me in that when I first started playing Fab, I always jumped heroes. I'd lose games, find a new hero, lose game, find a new hero. And I finally settled down on Prism and Icelander and got to develop a skill with them. And I feel like I have an affinity for those two. And my proudest result is probably PQ or no RTN, splitting with Andrew here. One of the RTN events. Yeah, that would be. Was it PQ?
I think that was PQ season 2.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was a PQ or an RTN.
No, that was PQ1. That was the Taps PQ, wasn't it?
It was the one where this man pulled a gold foil Anathos. So jealous.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to our next guest, Andrew.
Hey, my name is Andrew Padlesky. I'm playing competitive Fab up here in Edmonton, Alberta. Really happy to be on the podcast and the spoiler reviews here, so thanks again for having me. My favorite hero since joining Flesh and Blood was Chain. I loved kind of snowballing, starting small at the start of the game and getting up to playing like a 10 card hand at the end of the game. That was pretty fun, especially when I got my opponent blocking and they couldn't play the game anymore, and I increasingly got bigger hands every turn.
And what is the result you're most proud of?
Oh, true. Probably, like Shea said here, some of the ProQuest or RTN wins that I've gathered.
There's just too many of them. You don't have this particular one that stands out.
Let's take the economy take. Whichever one I won the Courage of Bladehold. That was the highest dollar.
He's eyeing up his second trophy shelf now. His first one's overladen.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you so much, Andrew. And Adam, why don't you give us a quick introduction?
Hey, I'm Adam Filipchuk. You may know me as Fom Toolery from the Combat Chain and the Fab Team Cup. Favorite hero, I've waffled on this because just like Shea, I've spent so much time playing and enjoying so many different heroes, but I think at this point I'm a wizard main through and through. It's just that's what's the most fun to me, and it's Kano and Icelander for different reasons. I love Wildfire Blazing. It's so much fun to just like YOLO and let's see if we can pull it off. Obviously it's a calculated YOLO, but it's still a YOLO. And meanwhile, Icelander was just this calculated value chess match, and they're both so much fun. Favorite or biggest finish near and dear to my heart. It's a toss-up between either the first ProQuest here in Alberta, just getting to, win that talismanic lens, the first gold foil in Alberta, and be able to say I did that means a lot to me, but also I really cherish my time grinding for France and for Nats year 2, and was it 76th at France and then 11th at Nats, 1 win away from top 8. Those are really near to my heart too.
All right. Thank you so much. So just out of equity, my name is Felix Chung. My favorite hero is Oldham. So I'm looking for a new main squeeze here. And my proudest result is probably top 4 at the very first RTN. I had no idea what to do besides block, and I just blocked my way to to a result in, I think, my 4th Flesh and Blood event ever. So that was something.
Nice.
Maybe that's why I like Oldham. Let's move it right along here. So I'm looking at February, and we are in the very unfortunate position of knowing what 80% or 85% of the cards. So there may be some key pieces missing that are just going to make us all look like fools as we react to limited information here, but I hear that this is called content and this is what people like. So let's start, and we're going to do this by sections here. In the interest of time, I think each of us are going to pick a couple cards that look interesting to us and just a general feeling about how the cards in that section make them feel, or what they're most interested in. But before we get into the weeds here, give us your general impressions of spoiler season and how things unfolded. How do you think Dusk Till Dawn is shaping up as a set? So I guess let's start with you, Andrew.
Hey, thanks. I like how it was such a slow roll of spoilers, getting almost like one a week, it felt like. And now, bam, it's like the floodgates have been opened, and I wake up to another 20 spoilers. I stop looking at Discord, and throughout the day, there's been another 20 spoilers. And honestly, it's been so fast, I can't even keep up. I'm just letting my biases completely take control, and I've only been reading the Vin set and the Prism cards for the last day or two. I've just stopped reading the Bolton cards. I'm like, these look cool, these look kind of strong, but I was not a fan of playing Bolton myself before, so I'm just saving myself some brain waves and just trying to focus on 2 of the heroes right now.
Got it. But before we move on, are you going to be seeing the Levia cards for the first time here, or do you kind of know what's up with those?
I read them. I watched a
Okay.
video on some of the more complicated interactions, but there's a
Okay,
few of them I've certainly forgotten as well.
so this isn't going to be like a React style, man sees Levia redeemed for the first time kind of thing.
No,
That's
I'm a couple
unfortunate.
steps past that.
Got it. Adam, how about you?
I've been enjoying this spoiler season. Same thing with Andrew. I'm to some extent struggling to keep up. It definitely feels like every time I open Discord, it's like, where did all these come from? But it's definitely fun to start thinking about what we get to do next. And I'm excited for me. It's just new meta, just new opportunity, just to see new interactions, and that's always fun, regardless of power level or does this set speak to me or not. It's just always fun to learn the game.
Awesome. Shea?
Yeah, kind of like them. It's really exciting right now. It's almost overwhelming. I would have liked a little bit more, I think, prior to this big weekend. Like, it was so light in spoilers leading up to it that, you had 4 or 5 days to discuss one card with people, or watch even like the Purple Discord talk about it, and kind of would have liked maybe one more in the middle of the week. But maybe that's just the desire to learn more and more about the new set coming out. And kind of like Andrew, I have not looked at the Levia cards because I just kind of looked at them. I'm like, I don't have time and brain power to register what these cards are doing. So I focused on looking at and learning even less cards than he did. So this will be kind of a Reacts video or Reacts podcast for me.
All right. And I have to ask, what is your cat's favorite hero, and what does your cat think about the spoilers?
Did you just hear him?
Yep.
I'm like, I muted my mic right after, and I was like, oh man, here we go. His favorite hero is Bolton.
Typical cat. All right. Well, just to add my 2 cents here, and I guess I have the privilege of going last because I have the power. You should not let this power get to my head. I was very intrigued by spoiler season. I unfortunately spent too much time reading chat and getting angry about people's terrible takes about how such and such was terrible, and such and such were design mistakes. That's always a bit of a frustrating part about spoiler season. People just saying this looks underpowered or overpowered without all the information. I'm really looking forward to especially what this new hero transformation mechanic does for Levia, and I think it opens up a lot of new design space. So really, really happy about the direction of the game overall. And yeah, yes. With that, let's move on into February. Thank you, February, for such an awesome spoiler tracker. It seems very up to date. And the first chunk of spoilers here is for Light Illusionist, starting with Prism Awakener of Soul. Looks like we have an L, a bunch of M's, and then a bunch of commons, all revealed to us so far. Shea?
I do want to mention that at this time, card ID numbers 13 to 31 are missing on February, but they are heralds that we already know. They're the Judgment, Protection, Ravages, Rebirth, Tenacity, Triumph, and War Tune Herald. So they're being reprinted in the set.
Got it.
So that's what that block is that's missing.
Nice.
And since you started, Shea, you get to keep going.
Sweet.
What do you think?
As somebody who's focusing primarily on Prism, really excited about the set and the prospects of the cards that are here. I kind of don't want to take some of the obvious ones like the Figments. The new Luminaris, or Numinaris, is probably the big focal point for Prism this set, and it's until we get to play with the cards, it's going to be really hard to see how things pan out. But I was kind of talking to Andrew about this, and my first thought surrounding like specifically this card and how it's going to interact with the new Prism is that if somebody that goes like full Herald into Figments, they're going to have a bad time. I think something like Levia being probably going to be very present at the beginning of the season, as well as people probably hearkening back to Bravo, trying to figure that out since they lost their Oldham main, that you're going to be in for a hard time by focusing just on Heralds. You're just going to get popped to death. And so you're going to have a strategy. And I think that Prism is going to have to be like a hybrid hero again, with something like the new Refractor Illusionist weapon that is 2 for 5 Aura Swing, or back to Iris of Reality. So I want to see how she really develops surrounding Luminaris, Celestial Fury, as my first card.
All right. No, thanks a lot for that, Shea. And I put extra weight into your thoughts because, yeah, you were a really, really good Prism player back in the day. And Adam, you were known for playing a little bit of Prism as well back in the day as well. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah, my first thought is I'm curious where, if we're looking at this from the perspective of wearing the competitive hat, I'm kind of curious where the optimal strategy lies in now. And I'm curious even, do we get all the support Prism needs right away? Like, I'm always, whenever we get a new set, that's kind of always one of the first things that I'm mindful of is, are we going to have enough support to pull whatever this is off? And, if we look at Prism conventionally, she didn't really reach her full power until Everfest dropped, where we were able to see full 24 auras Prism take off. So with that being said, though, one card that does stand out to me is Angelic Descent. It's kind of like I view it as a Prism Mauve Skies equivalent. And while Shea's does make a good point of, you got to be mindful of, is the Herald's plan viable in your meta? If it is, and with Heralds being as just such good rate as they are, without having Luminaris, Angelic Descent could be a really cool way to do some really oppressive proactive turns. But yeah, beyond that, I'm just kind of sitting in the boat of, I need to see it all, and I don't know what's ideal for Prism yet.
I want to touch on Angelic Descent. I agree with you. I don't know if it's going to be a 9 of. It depends on the build, but I think it's going to be, definitely the yellows and maybe the blues or maybe the reds together in every deck, I think. Because the cost of getting that go again from Luminaris for 2 plus the pitch into Heralds is quite costly. So what do you have to take on your turn by not being blocking to have, pitch cards and Heralds to swing and use this Angelic Descent?
Yeah, and even Angelic Descent being an instant, you lose the ability of blocking with it, but you gain the whole element to surprise. Like I'm always, whenever I'm playing high level, I'm always thinking, what play, like how do I give my opponent the less information? And, being able to do this at instant speed does, I think, make it an interesting card to think about playing in Prism.
Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, see, I don't know what happened to me because I thought I was just going to be this look at Vinset only huge Vinset stan, and then I started seeing all the art and the Marvel Prism cards, and my eyes are just popping out of my head like some old cartoon character.
When you told me you're a Prism main now, I was like, who are you and what did you do with Andrew?
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but I've been swallowed up by the light over here.
Yeah.
So my card, Figment of Erudition, really pops out to me. And if I think of like the play patterns with this card, I want to be spending all of my resources, attacking with some Heralds, maybe giving them some go again with the Luminaris. Hopefully we get one into Soul, which is going to be triggering our chess piece and get the Figment of my choice out of my deck for free. The Figment of Erudition comes out giving me a Ponder token, which I can still get an arsenal at the end of my turn despite using all of my cards. And on the other side of it, the Soraya, Archangel of Erudition. When she attacks, you may banish a card from your hero's soul. If you do, draw 2 cards. It seems insane. I love drawing cards.
So how do you think that after you play Figment and then attack with Soraya, you draw 2 cards? Do you think that you're going to have use for those 2 cards? Like, are we looking at finding more instance off the top, or somehow having the go again on Soraya so that we can utilize those 2 cards? Have you kind of thought about what we're going to do there?
Well, I'm hoping to draw some instants that I can play. I tried jamming a game on Talishar today, and I drew a lot of cards that are instant and do not block.
Okay. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Got him.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, that's exactly what you want when you start with 32 life. It's to not be able to block when you need to.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but on attack is when I banish the card and I may draw 2 cards. Then I could be activating the staff to give it go again after I've drawn these cards. The staff is just an instant as well. And so drawing the cards could fuel the ability to keep playing the game.
Yep.
Yeah, wow. Oh, that's really good to hear. And just further to your point about, the Prism, the art, drawing new fans to Prism. More than just the cards, Prism being back in the set has let me try to convince my wife to play Fab again. Like, she was playing events. Like, she was going to armories, she was playing Prism, then Living Legend happened, and then she got upset, at that and stopped, which was unfortunate. But now Prism's back, and there's all these pretty Marvel Heralds that she wants to collect, which is going to be terrible for our wallets. But there is something to be said just about the power of fandom, how people identify with certain heroes, be it through their gameplay or their aesthetic. And I'm really happy that Prism is coming back, even though I've been terrorized by Prism time and time again. And same thing with Vinset with a Shadow Runeblade playstyle. And honestly, yeah, like you said, Andrew, the art is absolutely gorgeous. I'm trying to figure out which one's my favorite. I think for me, it might be Rebirth for now, but that might change when you ask me again tomorrow. I'm just I'm just really looking forward to finding how this is all going to work. Myself, coming from a Guardian background, I see a lot of Herald support here. I'm seeing Bravo maybe getting an uptick, and Lavaya is getting some support, and I'm just seeing a lot of pops and a lot of no blocks and 32 life, and I'm wondering, is there an Iris shell that this Prism can switch to enact that Iris game plan? Are there enough auras? How does that work? That's what I'm most curious about, how they're going to be able to keep up that scary looking Herald beatdown package, but not just have a terrible matchup into a couple decks that are surely to be quite popular. Any other closing thoughts on Prism? All right, let's move on to the Bolton cards, or the Light Warrior cards. I need to be careful, because if they spoil a new light warrior and I just refer to them as Bolton cards, that's gonna be bad.
It's no longer evergreen.
That's right. None of this is evergreen. This is the aged like milk part of our catalog.
Yeah.
So we're starting with there's a beaming blade, there's a legendary chest, there's a bunch of bannerets, a bunch of M's, a bunch of R's have been spoiled, V for Valor, all the way down to Charge of the Light Brigade there. So quite a bit of support for Bolton. I'm not sure who among us has the most experience with Bolton. I'm not sure that Shea's cat speaks English. So
No.
I do have a couple thoughts here, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So from the, just laying low in different Discord servers and paying attention to people I really respect, kind of seeing what they've had to say about Bolton in the past. The one takeaway I'm always reminded of is Bolton is an incredibly card-hungry hero. If you can find a way to satisfy that rate-wise, his cards actually do a lot. And if you can survive and pull off any form of Lumina, it is quite devastating for your opponent. Now, he did get a really cool upgrade in Dynasty that was Spirit of Irina. And with that, now it's hard for me to fully evaluate things here, but my thought is the big thing Bolton needs is he needs solutions for that card hungry aspect, like playing a card, charging a card. It's very expensive. And I think, I don't know, I've always thought this, hot take, I've always thought the Sabres Bolton thing's a little bit of a pipe dream, and like maybe Raiden's a little better. So in that sense, Beaming Blade doesn't stand out to me, but I'm trying to find it here as I'm scrolling through the release. There was a card that I believe if you've charged and it hits, you draw a card or something like that, with some form of, like, it was something that stood out to me from the perspective of this allows you to charge, but it also can replace the card you've charged. But
I don't know. Beckoning looks like the closest one. Beckoning looks like the closest one.
Was it that maybe?
But
the
it puts it
aura?
from your graveyard to your top of your deck.
Or was there an aura or something? Was it radiant? No, not radiant force field. Crap, I can't remember. And this is where, like the rest of us, at the end of the day, I haven't been paying close enough attention to Bolton. I remember reading something. I'm not going to waste all this time looking at it. I remember reading something that
Lumina Lance. As an additional cost to play this card, you can banish up to 3 cards from your hero's soul. Choose that many modes. Target
Lance
light attack gets +2. Yeah, target lance or light attack gets when this hits, draw a card. And then target light attack gets when this hits, go again. So that's probably what you're talking about.
Was it Prayer of Bologna?
I kind of remember a 0 for 3 that had an on-hit draw. This is why we don't do content that is.
It was prayer. I believe it was Prayer of Bologna, and what stood out to me about it was the fact that you can actually proc a card off the top of your deck before you charged, and it was just a little, an extra interaction to get more cards into your hand before you did the charge thing, and maybe be able to have a little more control on. I don't care about charging this card versus actually being able to keep the cards you want to play in your hand. So I don't know if it's enough to its pump also makes Bolton able to give whatever the attack is go again. So I don't know if it's enough to fix Bolton or really make him competitive, but that one did stand out to me for Bolton.
Your actual knowledge of specific cards has blown me away, so that's really good. Andrew, anything stand out to you?
Yeah, Spirit of War seems pretty good. That's the one where additional cost, you may charge it. If a yellow card was charged this way, whenever an attack action card hits this combat chain, create a courage token. That allows for some opportunity in there to make multiple courage tokens, and then it would be cool to see how far they can go with that, with maybe multiple weapon swings after that.
Also, actually, being courage tokens are one of the things I found playing into Bolton is if you can find ways to not, because this whole thing is, he needs to give go again based off of a card being greater than its base. So if you can find ways to not interact with, if you don't block with attack actions or something like that, all of a sudden he can't get his go again. So yeah, to Andrew's point, the courage tokens could really help enable some things there too.
Anything to add, Shea?
I hate to pick a legendary here, but I think Soul Bond Resolve as a light warrior equipment chess piece is going to do a lot of things for Bolton. It has this text that reads, when this defends, you may charge your hero's soul. The first time you would be dealt damage each turn. If you've charged this turn, prevent one of that damage. And has temper, so it can block, 3 damage. With being card hungry and obviously charging is his main mechanic, being able to play defensively and still be able to charge cards, biding time for a window, I think is going to be really big for helping him get his engine up and going a lot quicker in the game. So being able to charge 2 cards here, I think is going to help propel him a bit quicker in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we're in for a bit of a slower meta as well, that's time for Bolton to shine. And speaking of those predictions, we should do our banned and restricted predictions at the end of this. We should just jam in all the hot takes like in one episode. All right. For my own part, I'm pretty intrigued by, to the point of Bolton being reliant on the attack being higher than base. I am intrigued by things like Charge of the Light Brigade, or even the other pump here, Resounding Courage, which buff, or either through reaction in the case of Resounding Courage, or as an action in the case of Charge of the Light Brigade. Just, it seems like ways to give Bolton just again additional guarantees that he can pop off that turn. He's not going to get stuffed by the opponent, being able to no block or have a non-attack block or equipment block ready. So yeah. All right, anything else about Light Warrior? Do you guys feel that Bolton will be a force in the upcoming meta, or what are your thoughts there?
The problem is the moment Bolton becomes competitive, you just start playing ice.
Yeah.
One blizzard and he kills his combo.
You talking with Grant, who is probably one of the most foremost Bolton players in Calgary. He's not super stoked with the reveal so far. Piling on to the card hungry, his cards are low to the ground and aren't fit with on hits. So you're looking at low go wide damage with no real reason to block them. And so you take a bunch of damage to return damage, but it's vanilla. You're not necessarily presenting must blocks all of the time to your opponent, which right now that kind of feels like the quote unquote meta that we're sitting in. Is on hits are really relevant right now, with like the way Lexi and Rangers are being played. So he's a little bit worried about that, and I can kind of see where he's coming from.
Yeah, I noticed some of the cards are below rate too, and in that sense, I wondered, how do we make this up? So I have had that thought as well. Yeah, poor Bolton. He's just going to become the next, as Azalea / Levia, where people are just like, I want Bolton to be good. And
all right, we'll move on to the light cards. So starting with the 4 equipment and United We Stand, Lumina Lance, Radiant Force Field, and then a bunch of rares and commons. Looks like we have most of them spoiled at this point. Guess any thoughts about this set of cards? I guess Shea, you want to get us started?
I think that Lumina Lance is going to see the most play out of the light cards. Obviously, it fits into Bolton with charging and getting pumps to your attack.
Yeah, when I saw Lumina Lance, that was kind of my thought. I'm like, look at this weird Enlightened Strike, Celestial Cataclysm / Razor Reflex. I don't even know attack reaction we're getting. And I was like, this could be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any other standout cards for you, Adam?
United We Stand. And for one reason only. It says the word party in it.
Oh,
That
yeah.
to me suggests we're getting closer to PvE. We've acknowledged this mechanic called the party now, and that's really exciting. I've often said, like, at the end of the day, if you look at the surge that made the game Magic what it is today, yeah, there was the initial competitive rush, but at the end of the day, Commander is what the millions of people play, and if we want Flesh and Blood to become the same, we need PvE to be something stupendous. And this card hinting at PvE just makes me excited, because I'm like, it's one step closer to what I hope to be the true potential of Flesh and Blood.
Oh, that's awesome. And anything stand out for you there, Andrew?
Nah, not really. It was kind of Lumina Lance. I keep reading this Radiant Force Field, but I just can't figure out where it would be good at all.
Yeah.
That was going to be my addition to this topic, was like, yeah, this is a card that I want to be good. This is a card that speaks to me.
Ultra Fatigue Prism, you play 3 copies of Soul Food and you just like jam your soul full of crap, and I don't know, I've got nothing.
the one thing that I can see this doing right now with the card pool is, again, if you've built Soul like you kind of mentioned, this allows you to block like 4 breakpoints with one card.
Yeah, absolutely.
And trying to keep your angels around. This is going to be a way, potentially, obviously, if they're attacking Prism and not the angels, a way that she gets to keep her angels without sacrificing too much. Because if the angels get left alone, but you have to block to protect yourself from losing them due to the ward mechanic, then how do you swing them when you have no cards? Because you spent your opponent's whole turn defending and losing your cards.
Yeah.
So I hope that Radiant Force Field is sort of one of the steps towards keeping your angels around.
Radiant Force Field would have definitely been good in just old school Prism Fatigue for sure.
I was going to pick Radiant Force Field because going back to that idea of Iris being the selected strategy for anti-popper decks for Prism, this new Prism, I can see, the early game for Prism being to establish some figments one way or another. And the way Prism wins against Guardians, because it's happened to me time and time again, is Prism establishes multiple threats on a single turn. Radiant Force Field is an instant, so you can establish multiple, and if you do that on the same turn as you flip Figment, then you leave a deck that has restricted access to go again. Do you hit the Angel, or do you hit Prism to try to get rid of the Force Field? Now, of course, this leaves, this is very hungry on your soul, because you need soul available for your force fields to not die, and you need soul available to flip your figments. But, I mean, this is at least one way this could go. I don't know. Maybe it's too theoretical, but who knows?
Well, since we're talking about soul food, I've seen a lot of chatter about it. And so I guess we're in a hot take mode. Do you guys think that soul food is going to enter Prism's deck? Is it going to be a 1 of, a 3 of? What do you think, Andrew?
Man, put me in the hot seat, hey? I was actually going to flip the question and ask you, when you were playing your old Prism control lists and mostly blocking, how often did you have a lot of cards in your soul?
I don't think you ever really got more than like 3 cards in soul. The time that we were playing Prism Control was against Chain and Starvo, and they gave no shits about blocking. So you quite easily got Heralds into soul. And I think we're in a different time. And now that the new Prism has a very Mask of Momentum-esque ability in that she's presenting something that you probably want to block a lot. I don't know how easy it is going to be for your Heralds to go into soul. So I think that, we're going to need some sort of soul food. In maybe not every matchup, but in some other matchups, I think, into like the Guardian that's just going to block you or pop you. How do you flip your figments, or how do you get your figments?
Yeah.
An honorable mention, Prism did run on and off like throughout her entirety of existence, soul food on and off, usually as a one of, and I've seen things like, if you're on the play, you'd run it. If you're on the draw, you didn't. Like you said, Shea, if it was one of those things where you're going to have a harder time building up soul, you ran it. And so soul food is not a foreign card to Prism, but I don't think it's the most optimal.
Yeah, I just pulled it up again, and to your point, I was gonna say, man, I do not think I want to cast this card unless it's on turn 1.
It was a turn 0
for sure.
ideal play is what it was.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, plus again, if you're playing soul food on a turn that's not turn 1, you're basically blocking that much less and taking more damage, and you start with 32, right?
That sounds super unoptimal. I totally understand that. But part of Prism's play patterns were eating a ton of early damage to establish that board control or that board state. Like you block where you had to, but when you found your pieces of like 2 blues and an instant aura, and you got your tunic counter and you played your blue, you played your instant aura and then your blue on a single turn to establish that, you had to take damage. So that's kind of part of, I feel like, her core mechanic as a board state hero. And this soul food is basically the same aspect, but maybe one more additional step. And like you already mentioned, Felix, with less health. So it's a bit scarier, but I still think it's part of her play pattern in a way.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely understand the terror of being double aura'd, but being soul fooded definitely, I guess, strikes a little bit less terror.
Less frightening. Yeah, for sure.
I do agree with Felix, though, that like to your point, Shay, of investing life to enact your game plan. With 32 life, I am going to be very, very critical of, is this investment worth, what I'm doing? And I at this point in time, unless like we see just such a big payoff for having 4 cards in soul that like you just can't deny not doing it, I have a hard time justifying playing a soul food to just eat a whole bunch of damage.
Mm-hmm.
But that's at this point in time without having fully tested it, right?
Since we're in the light section, I do want to pivot over to Bolton and ask. Bolton seems to be pivoting in a very yellow heavy direction, so I have to ask. Library?
I've wondered it. I don't know yet. I mean, I always saw it in Prism as a win more card.
So
I don't know.
It's hard to say, but I mean, maybe there's merit to it because of, again, him being a card hungry hero. This gives him, a free charge card, right? If he's able to keep it up. So that gives him a bit more space to block if he has to, or find a power turn to, create tempo in space.
Yeah,
maybe.
And his new sword also costs 2. So that helps him get the first pitch card into his pitch zone, because I was even thinking, like, does Bolton even want to pitch like enough to
No, he never
library?
He never liked pitching more than once, if that, in a turn.
Yeah,
it was usually a red.
Yeah. But now with Beaming Blade, he can pitch a yellow, come in for 5. I don't know.
We'll have to see.
Yeah. All right. Time to move over to the Shadow. So,
are we going to talk about Levia?
We are.
Absolutely. So Shadow Brutes. So we have at this time spoiled Hellhammer, spoiled Skull, the M's Diabolic Offering, Shaden Death Hydra, Slithering Shadowpede, Expendable Limbs, Blood Dripping Frenzy, and a bunch of rares and commons. Guess Adam, you sounded really excited. Take it away.
I'm having so much fun figuring out all the new ways Levia can kill herself. My favorite right now is I figured out if she accidentally plays Death Hydra as Levia Redeemed, it's instant death.
Yeah. Nothing as blood debt. That's correct.
Yeah. So that one looks interesting. Hellhammer is just like are we just talking like all just hell-bent aggro? Because Levia has the best rate on cards. That is just full stop. But it was just she killed herself more often than she killed her opponent. But yeah, is there this all out like balls to the wall aggro build that actually wants to run Hellhammer because you literally just thwack them once 2 for 6 and just keep going? I don't know. There's some really cool potential with Levia now with the new cards, but yeah, for me it's just been fun to think, this could kill me, that could kill me, yeah.
Yeah, no, you gotta have fun for sure.
So I want to touch on Hellhammer, like you mentioned it, and like I saw this today while I was out, and I don't understand the card. I hate to be that guy, I don't know much about Levia, but a one-time 2 for 6, then it going to your banish zone. I don't understand what it's trying to do. Can anybody elaborate on why this might be used?
I'm in the same boat as you, Shea. I'm still trying to figure out what is even what was the majestic weapon they got in Monarch, the flail, Hexagore. Yeah, I can't even figure out Hexagore. I'm like, I don't see a world where in the early game the payoff of that value, the value of that attack pays off, the amount of damage I'm taking, and then the end game I just died of my blood dead anyway. So yeah, I agree with you. I don't. Oh, you know what? If it went to graveyard, maybe I'd say it's a great way to just fill your graveyard. But the fact that it goes, can it turn off blood debt?
So, no.
Oh, because it's it's a 6.
Oh.
It's a 6.
Yeah, can it turn off blood debt
for
the turn?
All right, I could see that.
How does Levia read?
Yes, that's the next thing that we need
There
to
you go.
check. Is it an attack action?
Stand by, I got it up here. If a card with 6 or more power has been put into your banish zone this turn, so yes, it does turn off Levia. So that's what it is.
Okay,
it's a get out of jail free card.
Yep.
And the other thing is, if the new Levia really is built around coming in with big attacks to such a degree that even something like Bloodrush Bellow, like you're not even trying to play around that and getting a lot of extra action points, maybe you're just never counting on swinging with your weapon ever. Like, maybe, yeah, you swing it once.
Ideally,
when you're
not.
truly in a
Agreed.
desperate situation. Then what does it matter what your weapon reads or if it blows itself out? In fact, it having blood debt helps you achieve certain conditions on getting the demi heroes out. So this seems like really smart design, especially now that you mentioned that it actually also turns off blood debt.
Yeah,
so it's
absolutely.
actually also a get out of jail free card.
Is there an easy way to give it go again or get more than 1 action point?
Scabskins.
Scabs. Yeah.
Right, yeah, okay. So yeah, if you can
Shadow
do that
Hooves are
first,
even
close
more
the
reliable.
chain.
Oh yeah, hooves. Yep.
Yeah, so doing that first, closing the chain, letting it go to banish. A lot of other cards
Actually,
will
letting
see
it go to
and
banish
say-
will trigger Hooves.
Yeah.
And if a card with 6 or more plus power is banished this way, this gets +2. It's just an easy way to banish like the next attack you play in the turn as well. Some of them are specifying banish a card from hand, and some of them are specifying like just if a card with 6 or more power is banished this way. Yeah.
We are collectively talking ourselves up on this card.
Actually, the other one that I thought could be good
Seems
for
pretty good.
Levia 2 is Blood Dripping Frenzy. This screams Shadow Brute, Blood Rush Bellow to me.
I have this pulled up right now and I'm literally reading it. I'm like, this is a card I want to talk about. You want to put more random high rolly potential into Brute? I really like this design. This seems really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and I did see someone mention something about going tear limb from limb into Death Hydra.
Oh, nice.
For
Clean
26.
26. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm taking 13, but you're taking 26.
So for our listeners, Blood Dripping Frenzy reads, as an additional cost to play this, banish your hand. Draw a card for each card with blood debt banished this way. Your Brute and Shadow attacks get +X this turn, where X is the number of cards with 6 or more power banished this way. Go again.
So you want to have like a full yard Dread Screamer or something, and then swing in with the Hellhammer, pop your hooves, and finish him off with Endless Maw or something.
Well, it's giving you a couple of conditions that if you don't meet one, there's a secondary condition to get a benefit from, which I think is really cool. The first one is you draw cards based on cards with blood debt, and then your bonus power to your attacks are from the cards that have 6 or more. So if you don't, this is a blue as well. It's a 3 pitch, so maybe it's looking at second cycle and some sort of pitch deck. But if you have the opportunity to play it prior to that, you're getting random cards. They're not necessarily going to whiff because there's 2 conditions to meet on this card that you can potentially get a benefit from.
Yeah, and Levia does run a decent curve. Like, there should be lots of blues. So yeah, if you have the red Dread Screamer in your arsenal and you play this, you discard your other 3 cards, you have a pretty good shot of getting enough resources in that redraw to fuel your big turn. Yeah. Yeah, it's sweet.
So call to action. Do Levia players play Energy Potion if they're running Blood Dripping Frenzy? Let us know. Reach out to us on the IP2 podcast on Twitter.
Oh man. Yeah, so many interesting cards in Levia. It's I mean, we haven't said anything about the demi heroes. I mean, Levia Redeemed and Blasmafet, Levia Consumed. Like, even from a pure flavor perspective, the fact that you see the 2 choices of where Levia could go, and that happens like in mid battle, that's freaking sweet to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it opens up huge possibilities for what could happen to heroes, I guess, moving forward. And I guess part of me just laughs. I imagine Josh Scott, the rules manager from Fab's reaction, like when the design team pitched this to him, like, you want to do what? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, from a judge perspective, what do we think? Do you think old Prism? Sorry to jump back, but do you think new Prism is going to give as many issues as old Prism? I mean, Spectra's coming back, but more limited.
I think not so much. One of the biggest factors is that the longevity of the game, like, and the experience of the player base. It's not a new mechanic to a lot of us because we've been able to see it in some facet up at this point. And even Prism gets played in Blitz, which we don't talk very much about, but she's pretty strong in Blitz, and I think people are kind of learning and starting to see her there. And yeah, I don't think it's going to be as complicated because there's not going to be as many windows to do her standard shenaniganery. But I think people are going to still learn timing of instances and priority windows. But, Icelander and Kano have been around for a long time too, and there's some learning there. But Prism will do it in a different area in a different way. So, but I don't think it's as complicated. And like you said, Spectra's always been the biggest one. And that's, we're not getting, anything crazy new. I don't know. Any thoughts, Andrew?
No, I think you covered it pretty well.
Yeah, and I'm in the same boat. There's nothing immediately that stands out to me that I'm like, that's going to be a nightmare to figure out. Yeah, no, I think we're good there.
Nice. All right. Any last thoughts on Levia before we move on?
We should start a bounty for the first person who accidentally gets themselves with their own Death Hydra.
This sounds like a huge thing for the Fab Team Cup coming up. We can start a pool. All right, Vincent, Iron Maiden. So we've had the heroes spoiled, the flail, the offhand book, and a bunch of M's: widespread annihilation, widespread destruction, widespread ruin, funeral moon, requiem for the damned, and oblivion, and a bunch of R's and commons. Andrew, you've been looking forward to this all day, so take us away.
How do I choose one card? There's so many.
Choose more than one.
We can give you a couple. This is your wheelhouse.
I don't know if I want that either. That's scary. Widespread destruction looks really sweet. That's the one with when the combat chain closes, each hero who has lost life this turn banishes a card from their arsenal. Then of course has Rune Gate, like lots of these other cards. That
This
looks
is the
pretty
3
fun.
cost yellow, right? With 6 power.
Yes, it is. Yeah, just trying to find some sneaky ways to make them lose life this turn, take the card from their arsenal, I think could be pretty fun. And then I'm also seeing a lot of interaction with, like, there's quite a few instant cards in here, or cards that could be played as instant if certain conditions are met, or cards with blood debt like that. And I'm just so excited to, like, I feel like almost every game I'm going to be able to come up with something like extremely creative with Spellbound Creepers.
Yeah, I think Spellbound Creepers is going to be very important to Vincent's success.
And that is one of those cards that, like, took me a long time to wrap my head around playing Viscerae. Like,
Yeah.
it's almost like you have to play 100 games before you, like, start doing all the math and quantum mechanics, and then it's like creativity unlocked, and you can start fixing some really clunky hands with Spellbound Creepers.
There's still Iron Rot with text for me.
There's sometimes that too. Don't worry. And then I'm really excited to make a Nazareth, but I don't know how difficult it's going to be to get 6 rune chance and then play Oblivion. In Viscerae, that would be pretty easy.
Can't you theoretically? It's an instant, right? So you could theoretically, even if you have more than 6 rune chance, like resolve down to 6 rune chance, then play Oblivion.
Oh yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have to be some kind of like I don't know, creepers, read the runes, I don't know.
Mage Masters, read the rune in Oblivion. Done. Easy.
Who needs creepers when you have Mage Masters?
When you have Mage Masters.
I'm just playing Funeral Moon from Banish at instant speed. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, I'm excited to get my hands on the cards. So I think there's going to be quite the balance in building this deck of, like, I want a huge pile of blood debt cards. I want enough cards that are making enough rune chance for me. I think I want a bunch of the effects that give things go again. It's going to be hard to find the right balance.
Do you start the deck with Mordred Tide when you build it, you think?
Yeah, I think my first pile is Mordred Tides and 9 Mauvern Skies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You actually have decent access to go again in Vincent. Like, we thought it would be a big problem, but actually there's that. I mean, there's there's one shadow card, I believe, that gives go again from Arsenal.
Shadow Puppetry is an insane card from before.
Yeah, that still exists.
I think there's a new one though.
Thought
to
about
Felix
that actually.
was saying that gives go again from Banish.
Oh, that's good.
Putrid Stirrings, maybe? No. That's not the one.
I was a shadow one. Tear through the portal. I am skipping ahead. My bad. I thought it was a Runeblade one. Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Okay.
Oops.
Yeah, I can just foresee myself getting into those hands, though, where I'm drawing 4 non-attack actions. Vincent makes me banish one. I'm unhappy. There's gonna be a balance. There's gonna be some spreadsheets and some math required to figure it out.
Vincent looks like an awesome puzzle. Like,
agreed, yeah.
This is so new. Yeah, so hard to think about because we've never had anything like this remotely ever before.
I don't know if it's the right play.
Go ahead, Jake.
Go ahead, Adam. Okay, I was just going to kind of jump over a little bit. I don't know if it's the right play to play Blessing of Occult yet, but I think there might be space if you're playing like a Runegate style deck to play a defensive turn and then play out like a Blessing of Occult, get 3 rune chance, and now you're 0 for 10ing your opponent from Banished. Seems all right.
You're actually kind of touching on what I'm thinking. And so, Felix, you said we haven't really seen a deck like this before, and I would give pause in the sense of, so my kind of initial read on Vincent, and this is where I'm really excited for Vincent, is there's kind of something here to me that I'm reading that feels reminiscent to actually peak Scalata Viz. And when I think of, it was funny when Chain was rolling around, there was actually this Chain OTK deck that some people were trying to do, where you theoretically never let your soul shackles get above like 1 or 2, and you were just trying to like banish 1 card a turn and build up your blood debt, and then pop off on this huge turn at the end of the game. And I mean, ultimately, Chain's big problem at the end of the day was, despite Chain being broken, was that you never really had control over what your, shackle 6, what am I going to banish? Oh, I just banished 6 non-blood debt cards. Well, great, now I can't do anything and I just die at the end of my turn. And where I see Vincent as being different is, sure, I don't have the same card advantage generating mechanic of the soul shackles, but it's a hero where I can theoretically develop true card advantage. And in turn, I just kind of see there's this maybe OTK puzzle of, if I can find a way to stay alive. We actually even got, the flail that you can pressure your opponent without popping your rune chance as, an action on a weapon that's not an attack action. So maybe I can just sit around and each turn cycle is block with a couple cards, maybe even play a reduced rune chant, banish 1 strong rune gate or just card that I can play from banish, build up my blood debt the way I want to. I'm taking some damage off my blood debt in the process, but then I just like OTK Viz did, where you got down to maybe 2 or 1 life, and then you got to the turn where it's, you pop your Scalata and then go Sonata and catch. Maybe now it's, okay, I got all the pieces I want in my banish, catch. And I'm excited to explore that space with Vincent.
Yeah, I'm really excited also to see how it interacts with the legacy card pool or older strategies. For me, the card that I'm excited to see if it can work is Ninth Blade. Because now there's potential synergies with making more rune chants, being able potentially to double up on the discount, and I mean, I don't know. I just love Rattle grabbing Ninth Blade.
That is,
if we can make that work, then I'm really happy.
Yeah, and on the topic with what I just listed, you said legacy cards. I forgot to mention Seeds and Riftbind are kind of enablers I'm looking for in this shell that I'm kind of describing, because that's back on the menu, and there's no reason why I can't just theoretically, banish a Seeds almost every turn. And even Sutcliffe's Hide is such an easy, or we can even go Snapdragon Scalers, but Sutcliffe Hides for OTK Viz perspective, you can just go see a billion Seeds, Riftbind, Sutcliffe's Riftbind, and it's still a stupid turn. Plus, you're going to have a ton of rune chance on top of that. That's going to be hard for your opponent to catch.
Okay. Anything else on Vincent? All right. Well, move on to the shadow cards. So, I mean, we did touch on the Levia redeemed card, which is technically shadow. Then there's the equipment. There's a couple M's, Dabble in Darkness, Chains of Mephetis, and Dimensional Vortex, and a bunch of R's and C's. Any standout cards for you here, Shea?
Dimensional Vortex by far.
You beat me to it.
Yeah.
Same.
I think we're all drooling over this.
Yeah.
Number one, it has no pitch, so it looks super sweet on the card art. But Vincent being able to banish a blood debt card that she drew into, because that's always the thing with the Shadow Runeblades, is you don't want to see cards in your hand, you want to banish them, and this card gives you a way to banish a card that you didn't want to draw into, and that's, I think, going to be a super powerful play pattern for her. And even Chain and Blitz, I think, there's some potential here. It does cost 3, so it's super costly. But if you banished it, if you were Chain, I think there's a lot of potential with this card.
Yeah, and I'd even add, if we're looking at the Vincent kind of, OTK shell I was just describing, this is a very powerful card for helping enable that game plan, in the sense of you can banish it and just sit on it until you think your opponent's got a card arsenal that you want gone, like, so that they can't be as strong. This just helps enable that.
Yeah, I'm really excited because this is an action, so not all of us are saying this sucks. You can't Rosetta. Like, why would anyone do this? but all of us are thinking about these potentially slower game plans where we're blocking, we're setting up a turn, we're ending our turn with this action that doesn't do damage, but that's okay because we have something bigger coming around. And that kind of play style has not been emphasized as much lately. I know the very best players for like Viserai know when to lay down their whole hand and block and just stack up some rune chants, etc. It's still a skill, but it's not a skill that's as emphasized lately. So I think the fact that we're all excited about this, it's cool. I don't know how else to put it. It's awesome.
Andrew, did you have anything to add on Dimensional Vortex?
No, I'm excited for that one. I was going to say I'm really excited to play Dabble in Darkness in Chain, like in Blitz or something. That card seems pretty sweet. Whether we get it in hand or from Blood Debt, we can activate Chain, give it go again, get more cards off the top of our deck. Seems good.
Chains of Mephitis stands out to me for similar reasons, where not only can it kind of shows this dual intent of, I can build up my banish, but I can also deny my opponent drawing a card at the same time. And, obviously, like if your opponent plays out of their banish zone, maybe you side this card out, but some cool tools.
Do you guys think that something like Shrouds of Darkness will see play in Chain or specifically Vincent? It reads, if your hero would be dealt damage, you may banish this card to prevent 2 of that damage. Add Blood Debt. Or is this more like a Leviathan card? I don't know. Any thoughts on the armor, the equipment suite?
In the past, in like Lightning Briar, where the whole deck is red, I've played like Spell Void in every slot that I could against wizards.
Yeah.
And I could see using this kind of like that in like a Chain Blitz deck that's pretty red heavy. Playing against a Kano or something, you just play all 4 of the Shroud, Cloak of Darkness, Grasp of Darkness, Dance of Darkness cards.
Yeah.
That's kind of my read on it too. I honestly thought of this as limited cards at first, and I was like, wait, this isn't a limited set. So
yeah, that was my first thought too.
Yeah, I agree with Andrew. These are just better Spell Void.
All right. On to the random cards, or I don't know how else to put it, because there's Earth, there's Ice, there's Brute,
the everything else category.
Misk.
So, yeah, what in the Misk/generic pool excites you? Let's start.
Northern Winds. Looks good.
Does it actually, Andrew?
Just from an art perspective?
Well, the art looks good, yeah. And man, I don't know. It fills so many slots that Oldhim liked and needed. It's a blue, it's an ice card. It does just block for 2, but with Unity, you get more of an advantage.
Here's they cleared up the freeze wording on it though, and since they cleared it up, I do think the freeze part on it's underwhelming, because at the end of the day, the freeze mechanic hasn't lived up to, I think, what we thought it would.
Yeah.
So if it's PvE and I'm Oldhim and I'm leading the party, or I'm tanking and I can shut down the boss and stop a key piece of equipment going off while my allies go in for the kill, that would be sweet. I think I could see an application there. I'm not sure.
I suppose it doesn't even freeze Arsenal as well.
Anthem of Spring seems fine for Briar.
Yeah, I like that one for Briar as well. Again, it fills all the boxes of like Earth card, blue, blocks for 2, but if we're blocking with another card, we get our Embodiment of Earth token, and then it's blocking for 3.
Yeah, like if I see this on a Force of Nature turn, I'm so stoked, where like I go Force of Nature fusing with this attack action, then follow it up with Anthem of Spring. Well, actually at that point you're double dipping on the lightning token. I don't know, I gotta think about that. Either way, yeah, I agree. Yeah, Anthem of Spring fills all the boxes for Briar.
Briar just needed more consistency, and so I think that is just kind of like a Slay upgrade over some of the other Earth cards they're playing.
I wish Call Down the Lightning wasn't so cute, because I miss the old days of Ball Lightning, and Call Down the Lightning screams I can set up some weird Frazzle Bramble Spark, Call Down the Lightning, and just like 1 point of damage kills them like for 40 points.
I have to believe that Lightning eventually, when they reprint Aria or do Aria 2, that
Aria Remastered.
Because there's a huge hole in the Lightning card pool right now because Ball Lightning's gone and it's been gone for a while. I do like those damage amplification effects as well.
Nothing was more fun than just like in Tales Limited, Ball Lightning, Ball Lightning, Ball Lightning, Mark of Lightning.
Yeah. Unpreventable, essentially.
Oh, you chose to block this one? Yeah, you're dead to 4 damage.
Yeah. A lot of Runeblade players here. What do you think about the new Carapace and the Scepter as well?
I'm a little underwhelmed.
The Scepter, I think, is, like I said, really cool for Vincent, back to this idea of, trying to push damage while not popping your rune chance prematurely.
Right.
The Carapace, it's interesting, is like my first read is meh, but then the more I think about it, I'm like, no, there's something there, but then I'm like, I'm torn on this, how useful is it? Because Temper 2 is fine, don't get me wrong. I'm hung up on the fact that it's just AB2 with no other ability, where, people are like, well, AB2 is great. Well, when you think about the actual applicability of AB2, it's great anytime you're seeing, obviously, like 2 or more arcane, so like the Mirror, Wizard, but beyond that, like AB2, if I'm pitching into Rune Chance or Pings of Arcane from a Merciful Retribution or something like that, AB2 is actually worse. So now I'm on this thing where I'm like, where am I actually getting the full value out of this? And that's where I'm hung up. I don't know. Maybe in a Runeblade Mirror Fest, it's really good if Rosetta sticks around for a bit. But like, it's not good into Rune Chance.
My thoughts went directly to the Viserai Mirror, where I've always struggled on which piece of equipment I'm sacrificing for my Arcane Barrier 1 against a Viserai with Rosetta Thorn. And I was disappointed that this just has the Arcane Barrier 2, like you were saying. I wish it had 2 lines of Arcane Barrier 1, and then it would actually be the perfect piece for the Viserai.
That's cool. If it was AB1 twice, that is cool. Yeah. That I would have really been on for. But yeah, just the fact that whereas the chess piece is so traditionally a resource generating equipment slot or resource manipulating equipment slot, the fact that this has nothing to do with a resource manipulation, even though, if we say, okay, Scalata was maybe pushed, just something like, I think more often I'd rather run Ironweave than this.
Same. Right. This looks good against Bullander only.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. or Kano if they're running Nourishing Emptiness, right?
Yeah.
It feels like it's a little late.
Yes.
So
this should have came in Tails.
Rosetta being on the cusp of leaving, there goes a very easy target for AB2. Yeah. Now, I primarily play OTK Viserai. And these two, so the Scepter of Pain and the Dyadic Carapace together, because the Scepter is one-handed. That means I can also play the Arcane Lantern. So now I have access to AB6 against Kano as a OTK Viserai player. So I could theoretically block all of Kano's damage, depending on how it comes out. But you could actually block up to 6. And one of the hardest matchups for OTK Viserai right now is letting a wizard have whatever free room he wants to do on you. So this kind of lets you go to AB6. So that's kind of where I would see the use to. I think it's a sideboard card, depending on the meta for the Temper and maybe the Arcane, like you said, really good into Bullander potentially. And along with that, the Scepter of Pain is once per turn action, pitch 2, deal 1 arcane damage to any opposing hero. It seems PvE-esque, but is my opponent gonna pitch 1 to block the 1 arcane damage or give me a rune chant? So I could kind of see this way is to potentially get a few extra rune chance on an OTK Viserai setup.
Yeah.
And it's easier than the book, because the book you had to pitch a non-attack and an attack, which was awful. So this is a pushing sort of like 2 points of damage potentially if your opponent lets it hit. So, yeah.
Oh, it also shuts down Looming Doom. Yeah, there's the tech. There's the tech we're all missing.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Looming Doom. That's my win condition.
I'm very excited for Starstruck. I think Bravo will be okay. This coming meta.
Yeah, that card looks pretty bonkers.
Shiana got a ton of buffs.
A lot of specs, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Shiana is buffed
I find
to the moon.
She is. Does anybody play or dabble in Shiana here?
From time to time, but not religiously.
Nope.
Yeah.
Someday I will. Someday I will pull off my what is it? The Dream of Sandsketch's plan. Fetch something stupid, big and chunky, into get the 2 action points. Go Steelblade Supremacy, Talishar, draw a card. Still have an action point.
Yeah.
Oh no! Now I could go Flail.
I do want to.
Oh no, Flail's not a sword. Damn it.
Yeah.
All right.
I do want to briefly touch on the Great Axe. I think this feels weirdly thrown in. There's 0 axe support in this set. Why did this weapon come out right here and right now?
You just gotta sneak in a rare axe from time to time.
Do you? There isn't even a one-handed weapon to go with Bastion of Unity.
Yeah.
Just stocking the cupboard for some.
But probably.
I mean, that was the potions and trinkets in Everfest, though, right? We all know that that's a PvE support.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we'll wrap up the spoiler review portion of this bonus episode here. So we're just gonna do a quick segment here about the upcoming banned and restricted announcement. What is everyone's hot take on what's gonna happen? So I'm gonna go first this time because I've put myself last, and my hot take is that we will see probably a hit to Bolton Shot would be my guess. For Lexi, I was thinking about 3 of a Kind or Falcon Wing as well, but I'm not sure. Bolton Shot seems appropriate to me.
Falcon Wing's a hot take. That's the first I've heard of that one.
Not my Riptide support.
So I think there's merit for Bolton Shot, but it targets the other 2 Rangers, and they're fine where they are. So I feel like 3 of a Kind is the obvious if there is one. Just the amount of value that Lexi gets off of being able to block and then still have a 3-card hand is too great. I mean, I think Rain Razors is potentially in the argument as well, but I feel like those are stronger than Bolton Shot. I know Andrew was playing Lexi a lot in the last little bit, so maybe you got something to say about that.
My mind went directly to Bolton Shot as well, but my problem with it is that it hurts Azalea so much for no reason. Without Bolton Shot, Azalea would struggle so much into Dromai or just any matchups where you need to, do anything more than just one big arrow in a turn. Sometimes you do try to set up for like a Rain Razor's go wide turn and finish off with a big infecting shot or something, and that would just be so detrimental to lose Bolton Shot. But I was thinking of something in Lexi as well, and if it can't be Bolton Shot, or to be honest, I don't know why LSS hasn't yet, why can't they ban a card in one deck like Bolton Shot is banned in Lexi?
Yeah, it's a good question, and maybe we'll go there eventually. I think right now there is some value in the simplicity of just this is banned, this isn't. There's no confusion whatsoever that way, but yeah, it's a great question. Okay, I guess Andrew, So would you also say Bolton shot, or if you had to bet if there was a ban or just no changes, what would you say?
I'm into no changes right now. I think that's what
Got
they're
it.
going to pick.
Yeah.
And then yeah, with the new set coming out, I think they let that kind of settle and marinate for a little while first.
Okay.
I agree.
No changes, Shay?
No changes.
Got it. Well, what do you think, Adam?
I think we unban Scalata, we unban Ball Lightning, and we really let things buck. Oh, and we unnerrata Briar. No,
Team Chaos. All
no,
right.
I'm very much in the camp. Like, honestly, actually, I have this hot take that I'm not going to go into the full hot take here, but essentially, I think throughout the Monarch Tales Everfest block, we banned things way too aggressively, to a point where I think it didn't let the game just. Don't get me wrong, things were pushed and the power level was too high, but we didn't let things play out to this full fruition and potential. So within that, I'm actually a huge proponent for no changes here. Mind you, the only thing that kind of weighs in my mind for no changes is I don't know what, after this BNS announcement coming out, what the landscape looks like for competitive events leading up to Nats season. If there is no true period within there to kind of like titrate things, my hope is that LSS is maybe in the background being a little more aware of that versus if we do have time to titrate, then we just let things fly. But yeah, I haven't been following the event dates that closely. I know obviously Nats kicks up in September, but yeah. That's, no changes, I think, ultimately.
All right, so 3 out of 4, no changes. And me, the lone holdout, just wanting to cause Azalea some collateral damage, as if she hasn't been hurt enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
I think that's why they don't touch. Sorry, I think that's why they don't touch Bolton shot. Is
that's a good point.
For years, Azaleas have been asking for support, and they finally get it, and she's still not running the show.
Because Oldham was around.
Yeah, but
gone.
Again, that's probably why we get to the marinating season.
Marinade.
Things may be a little bit.
Are we talking like a smoky mesquite or like a sweet something?
Sweet and spicy.
Sweet and spicy. Okay, I see you.
Yeah.
Whatever Lexi's arrows taste like.
Those probably taste like sharpness.
Poison.
Cold.
Your tongue getting cut off.
Yeah.
You don't taste anymore.
Well, really appreciate everyone sticking around and joining us for this bonus episode of the IP2 podcast. I guess, Andrew, you told us that you are not available on any social media, so
True.
we'll just keep an eye out for you. Hopefully,
in an Oilers jersey
at
somewhere.
top tables. Yeah, at top tables somewhere.
Maybe Vegas.
At an event near you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Adam,
Yeah.
where can people find you?
I'm all over on Discord and lots of different servers. You can also find me on Twitter at FomTooleryTCG. Honorable mention, the combat chain. It's something I've been involved in. It's something I'm gonna get the rust off the engine, get it going here soon. But yeah.
Awesome. And you can always find Shay and I at the IP2 podcast on YouTube and Twitter, and IP2 podcast at wraith.social at Mastodon. Thank you so much.
Wasn't that Dairy Queen commercial where, like, the guy was like trying to lick the brownie batter and lost his tongue or something? Wow, that's a really dark Dairy Queen commercial in hindsight. I can't believe they ran that.
We have completely lost the plot here. I think this
if anybody's even this far in.
This is our side to cut things off.